I'm real happy that Adrian Chernoff was able to come out from Broadridge Financial Services. They've been participating in one of our pilots in partnership with ID DataWeb. And I think you'll see some themes emerging from this that are really similar to what Jim Barnett was talking about in terms of needing to shift the model from services that you have to go to services that come to you, and how identity is the key enabler and the driver of those types of models. So with that, let me introduce Adrian, and we'll go on with the show. Thanks.
Thank you. Good morning. So
Good morning.
Good morning. Matt's all wired up. And actually, we want to stay this whole session because he's talking about Under Armour as well as KISS. So some pretty exciting stuff. So starting with financial services, I'll start, but then lead up and create some magic today. I want to kind of give you a little teaser about myself. The last time I was actually in this building was 10 years ago when I was presenting for TED. And now I'm not like one of those famous TED folks, but we were electrifying the vehicle, creating a new platform for transportation, a unicorn in its day. And what you see on the road today from the inventions that I actually worked on back then is Tesla and the Chevy Volt. So we're doing here, it may seem far-fetched, but in time, it does become real. And I'm not pushing the far-fetched piece, but that everything we're doing, it just takes time and momentum occurs. And we're in this space right now, and we're actually making change happen. So I'm Adrian Chernoff, Vice President of Digital Strategy with Broadridge Financial Services. And today I'm going to talk about identity, enabling a new digital relationship. So kind of give you just kind of a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today is who we are, who the consumer is, because I think it's really important. If you understand the consumer is and how you connect with that consumer, you can create the right experience. And then recognizing what the challenges that we're facing in our industry and other industries as well, and the opportunity that comes from that. And then at the end, this all comes together, and the power of identity enables us to do a lot more than we're able to do just on our own. So I went the wrong way, didn't I? Let's see here. Sorry. So identity is core to our digital product offering. It is key. It is fundamental. It enables us to do a lot more than we're able to do. So this is interesting. So who are we? Does anybody in this room know who Broadridge is? That's great. Most folks don't know who we are, but I think this quote says it all, is that we're the most important firm on Wall Street that you've never heard of. Pretty phenomenal stats, though. We process 85% of the outstanding shares in the United States, and 72% of the shares outside the United States. Tens of millions of stockholders we engage with on an annual basis, monthly basis. We're engaging all the time. This is powerful stuff at the end of the day. 3 billion communications a year come from us. A lot of relationships here. Another hub. There was another image that Jeremy showed of hubs coming together. So we're a hub of connecting banks, brokers, and dealers together and providing communications to customers. Now this is where it gets really interesting. And this kind of builds on the unique opportunity of identity management and what we have in our offering going forward. So a typical consumer has 55 relationships that they get content in the mail for. And those relationships, if you look at it, financial services makes a big chunk of that. So those 3 billion communications, you look in your mail, we're in that space. There's a lot of volume going through. So to reach consumers, financial services is one piece, and there's all these other industries, and if you can group other industries together and other verticals together, you can drive more momentum and more adoption. But starting with the financial services piece, we understand that there's a network effect that we can create. So let's first understand who the consumer is. So if we understand the consumer, then we can understand how we can engage that consumer in a better way. So sorry for the tiny text, but the reality here is that consumers are moving forward in digital in a very adaptive and highly engaging rate. So a lot of changes have occurred over the last few years with iPads and the iPhone and transition from desktops. And these transitions and what's occurring is happening very quickly. Responsive design, the way people are using apps and mobile services. And financial services has yet to really kind of take advantage of this full set. So we have an opportunity here. And print costs are expensive, and there's opportunities that are here. This is what I think is if you understand our customer, and is that who we're targeting. So we're dealing with affluent customers, typically folks who have $75,000 a year of investable assets, just in general. So they're affluent. Affluent customers own iPads, tablets, all kinds of mobile and technology devices. They can afford them, they use them, they consume them. Now, our customers are a little older. But what's interesting is that even being older, the adoption rates are much higher because of the affluent level. So we are in an area where a lot of people are using technology, and a lot of consumers are adopting to new technology. So we have to move, we have to accelerate and move forward. And how do you do this when there's like all these experiences that are coming up online? So interesting though, I know you've probably seen some of these slides, but desktop adoption is still growing, but it's being outpaced by smartphones. Take it one step further, and tablets have just outpaced smartphones. So what's happening is that consumers are using all these devices and using more devices, they're adopting to new devices. And over time, the mobile devices are going to overtake desktops. So pretty phenomenal that the consumers are adapting very, very quickly. And then this interesting behavior starts to occur, is you use a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, you're migrating between devices at all time of the day. So your identity has to actually, and all the accessing points you engage with, has to translate between all these devices and all the applications you're using and all the financial services you're using and all the industries you're accessing. So it becomes a very complicated problem, and identity is this kind of the glue, the power that allows us to enable a lot of services across that. This is another interesting fact. So because we're dealing with affluent customers, and they're adopting to tablets and smartphones and other devices, you see that the migration over initially when the iPad came out, heavy, heavy, heavy volume. And then other devices have started to show up on the marketplace with the Androids and Kindles and Microsoft Surface. But when you look at volume of traffic and affluence, you find that most of the volume is in the Apple iPad. Why? Because of, again, who is our customer and how we're reaching those customers. I think this is pretty interesting and very, a foundation of who we are and who our customers are. So now let's take this next step. So given all this new technology is coming out, how effectively are we actually engaging with customers? So here's our challenge. The reality is that if you look at wealth management, financial services off to the left, if you have, let's say, 6 million customers, and of those 6 million customers, how many of them actually created a credential and a password to log into your site? Only 25% have actually created a credential, which goes back to, Jeremy, your stat was 74% of people show up to the site, they run away. So how are you going to get more adoption if you only have 25% and you want to get more consumers showing up to your financial services company? If you're Morgan Stanley, TD, et cetera, how? And then what's even further frustrating, I think, in our industry, is that of those 25% who actually created a credential, how many are actually using the services that you're providing? It shrinks quite drastically to 5%. So you're only reaching 5%. And that's across our industry. Now, other industries like retail banking, when you have bill pay and other services, the customers are showing up in droves. A lot of us do bill pay. So we actually have a relationship, we engage, we actually know our passwords, but in other services we don't. Insurance, even less. So there's an interesting effect here is how do you overcome this? So in the industry itself, the realization, or if you look at the model, is that we're asking customers to come to us. Come to us, here we are, come to us. And in this whole new world, it's grabbing their attention and building that relationship. It becomes harder and harder and harder over time. There's going to be new Googles and new Facebooks and new LinkedIns and new things vying for their attention. So how do you engage with those consumers when it's very expensive and costly to do so, as you're competing with their eyes? So here is an example of a financial service firm, a little itty bitty dot in this huge ecosystem called the internet. And these big mammoth players. And how are you going to get their attention? Well, the reality is that we have to change our business model. So we have to transition from, hey, come to us. No, let's go where the consumers are. And if the consumers are on Dropbox, or the consumers are on Evernote, or the consumers are somewhere else, Google, Facebook, et cetera, we have to provide the services that we have to them, where they live, where they are. But how do you do that? Well, identity is the access point. So if you can validate a consumer and you can deliver content in a secure way to that consumer, then you actually can create a relationship with that consumer where they go versus saying, hey, come to me. So it's a fundamental shift, and identity is that capability set for us. So then the reality is you can always go to the firm, but then you can go anywhere else and still engage with the firm. And this includes not just financial services, but other industries as well. So identity is the power behind our business model. So beyond security and privacy and access, we're able to do something very different, novel. It's adaptive. It's reconfigurable. It's better for customers. It's a better customer experience. It's better for our clients. So because we have a relationship with every bank, broker, dealer in the United States, every financial institution we have a relationship with, like Citibank, we want to engage and enable everybody to have these relationships. But how do you do so? And this is what our business model is being built on. So let's merge these two worlds together. So all these printed communications that are delivered, not just in financial services, but other industries, if you combine the momentum and the relationship where consumers are today, and a key point is that a consumer to shift needs mass. There needs to be a lot of things there for them to show up. So example is, hey, I want to receive my financial communications here. Well, that's interesting, that's important stuff to me, but I have other important stuff as well. But if you can group that with other data, other relationships, utility companies and telecommunications companies, and there's more mass and momentum, then if there's more of these providers that are there, then the consumers say, hey, I want that relationship. And we just created a joint venture with Pitney Bowes called Inlet. And that combination, and that allows us the access to other services outside of financial services. So that huge envelope of relationships that each of us in this room have with utility companies and other companies, this aggregate effect enables us to say, hey, this is why I want to sign up and receive my communications, not in print, but now digital, but not digital just in a broker site, but on Dropbox or somewhere else. And so then in this way, then we combine it with, let's go where the customer is. So this is where all the components kind of come together. This is almost the money shot, but not quite. So on the left, there's all these industries. On the right, there are different distribution points, and the consumer has relationships across these. And you just heard from Jeremy about NSTIC, and the power that the leverage, and actually the capability set that we're using from learnings of this system, this strategy, we're taking advantage of that. And it's enabling us through ID Data Web, the capability of authenticating a customer. And that authentication then can be shared across the network effect of relationships on the left and the right. And that consumer then can have all these touch points, and it shares across this huge network. So going one step further, this is our money shot. So we're building a system which allows all these industries on the left connect through a platform where identity management is a key component, where we can provide content to channels like Evernote, like the Mint of the world, or Canada ePost, or other kind of services and channels where consumers are having relationships with new brands like Google and Facebook. So all these connections are utilized, and the capability set becomes real because of it. So we have a set that we're building, this platform that everybody can leverage, and we're becoming the intermediaries to enable this connection point. And the identity piece is the glue. It enables the relationship for a consumer to show up on Evernote or Dropbox and say, I want to receive all these communications here. And the only way they can do that is they have to authenticate. If they didn't have identity management, they have to create individual passwords and and usernames for every relationship they have. And we saw early on in financial services, only 25% of those consumers have it. So all the passwords they have to remember are very difficult, and then trying to channel that information somewhere, and all the relationships you have to create are very complicated. But with the simple ability through ID Data Web, with the attributes that you can have, these 5 attributes as an example, first and last name, your date of birth, your social security, your address, your email, your mobile phone number. Those key things allow you access, and that can be shared across the network. And basically, by signing up once, if you sign up once and authenticate who you are in our network of providers that we're building through this joint venture called Inlet, you can sign up once and authenticate, say, listen, I want to receive my communications here, and across the network, we can actually deliver that content to a channel. So it makes it much simpler for you, and by having all these relationships and coming into one point of access, through preferences, we can set your preference, say, hey, I want to receive communications here, and the identity enables that to occur. So the takeaways today, in summary, are just a few. Consumers are changing their customer behavior. Actually, the consumers are the customer. They are changing their behavior. We are changing our behavior. So we, as the industries recognize the consumer change their behavior, we have to change with that flow. Consumers have multiple digital relationships, and they want an easier way to connect. And it may not be through your brand. And it may not be through your vertical, but it may be through something else. And Broadridge is changing the business model by leveraging key components to improve the customer experience. So it's easier for a customer to do this. Empowering the customers to do more, giving them more choices and more capability, to enable them to drive more adoption, increase usage, to increase the level of the digital relationships that they have as more digital products arrive and more technologies evolve. And then I would say, there's a couple more points here, but the reality is that this identity piece is our glue, and it's enabled by NSTIC and ID Data Web. And that's it. And I'll be passing it on to Matt. Hope I wasn't too quick on that one.
This is great. So